Coming to you right from the floor at PDAC in Toronto. Welcome to the Market Frontlines. I'm Lindsay Melchuk. The energy here is electric. Capital is hunting for real assets, and the world is waking up to one simple truth. If you want industrial independence, you need steel. And if you want steel, you need iron. Our next guest is someone who isn't just talking about reshoring and supply chain security, he's actually creating it. Sean Cleary, CEO of Strategic Resources. This is a company advancing a pellet plant at Port Saguenay in Quebec with a clear vision to supply high-purity iron for a decarbonizing steel industry. At a time when governments are pushing for domestic production and lower emissions, Strategic Resources is positioning itself at the front of that shift. Sean, it's great to have you here. So great to see you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You know, PDAC is full of so much energy this year, even more so than last year. How is it on your end?
It's been busy. We've had so many investor interest. We've got one-on-ones with a number of potential strategic partners and, of course, financial institutions and our advisors. So it's been great so far.
It's been really good. I think they said that this is, record numbers that have attended this year. So
it certainly was very busy getting in today.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I want to just dive in. You recently released a press release, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So earlier this week, we put out a press release updating investors on the environmental amendment permitting process. Right. So we have an existing fully permitted plant at Port Saguenay. And we're going through basically a process with the Environment Ministry to increase the scale of that plant to 4 million tons per year. And it's going quite well. We've submitted all of the required documentation. The government's reviewed it, and they've come back with a number of questions. So we're in the process of answering those with our advisors, with the idea that over the course of the next 2-3 months, we should complete that process and get our amended permit.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting news right there for sure. Now, Quebec, there is a lot of changes to some of the mining laws and everything like that came down. Has those new laws affected your build out or anything yet?
Not in any negative way. So basically, we have very significant sponsorship from the Quebec government. They're a large shareholder in our company, as well as from the federal government. In that Port Saguenay is a Ports Canada federal port, and we have a long-term lease at the port on new industrial lands that are designed exactly for this type of project.
So great. Now you're also ramping up the build out right now.
Correct. So we're into the final stages of engineering and working on the construction readiness plan, which we hope to have completed by the end of this calendar year. At that point, we'll, be working on finalizing our project financing. So we've hired Société Générale as our lead on the project financing. It's about a $500 million construction cost. So, it's significant. We think 2/3 debt, 1/3 equity. And we do have very significant sponsorship. Not just from the government, but also from, some large private equity groups like Orion Mine Finance, our big shareholder, as well as, the First Nations group. So we have a full impact agreement, impact benefit agreement with the Cree Nation government for the life of the project. And we also have development agreements in place with 3 different bands of Innu. So, this is a project that is got a lot of social acceptability and is really wanted and needed for the Quebec iron industry to create a low carbon pellet that can be exported to markets like Europe that, with CBAM coming in, this really provides a competitive advantage over other iron ore pellets that are in the market.
That is so smartly aligned for sure. And you touched on something that I wanted to ask you about, and I wanted to unpack a little bit further about the community and how involved the First Nations are in that community. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, we have also permitted an open pit mine, which will be integrated into the project at a little bit later stage. And that deposit, that permitted mine is on traditional Cree lands. So, going back a number of years, we have, basically built a relationship with the First Nations groups that, we're honored and, we have great respect for, their heritage and the culture, and we try and maintain that. And so we've come to an arrangement with them where, they're really sponsors of this project and the company, and they're also shareholders in the company. They invested into the company. So like these are really meaningful things, a time when, it's very important for, especially in Canada, to, have local groups on side for projects like this.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. When you have the backing from the community that you are helped building out, that's not small news. That's huge news there. So congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
Let's flip over to what's coming next. So what are some milestones you want to hit in the coming quarters?
Well, I think the most important one is the permit amendment. So we think that around the end of Q2, we should be in a position to hopefully announce that. And then we'll be working on the engineering and towards sort of Q3 into Q4, we'll be doing announcements around the engineering and construction readiness. And then I think early next year, Q1, Q2, we'll hopefully be making announcements about working to complete the project financing, with the idea that we could be in construction in the summer of 2027.
Right. What do you think the biggest challenges are that you're having to overcome to hit those milestones?
I think the biggest challenge is, getting ready for construction, because we're moving from, being a project developer to moving into quite a large construction project. So that's where, there will be risk. And so it's about, who are your advisors? Who are the contractors? Who are the people that are on the boots on the ground actually doing the work? So putting all of that together, with our existing engineering firms and, our very strong shareholders that we have, who have been involved in many projects that are similar to this, and, leaning on them for advice as well.
That's really great. Well, you sound like you have a really great story. I'd love to learn more about it. We're out of time now, but definitely come back and we can dive in deeper.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Absolutely. Again, that was Sean Cleary, CEO of Strategic Resources. The company trades on the venture under SR, and you can learn all about them over at strategic-res.com. As governments double down on industrial security and cleaner steel, the question is not just who has iron, but who can actually deliver it in a way that meets the future. Keep that in mind. I'm Lindsay Melchick, and this is the Market Frontlines right here at PDAC. We'll see you soon.